Today is December 21st, 2021. The Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is called to order at this time. I need a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes from October 19th, 2021.
So move.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. If you have not done so, please sign in the back of the room. And anyone wishing to speak tonight, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Answer with I do. Thank you. Do we have any special requests tonight, continuance, withdrawals, or waivers? Okay. Do you want to explain what the procedures are?
So because we have 3 cases on tonight, we are going to adhere to the rules. The order of the meeting will be the petitioner has 10 minutes. Remonstrators, those for or against the petitioner, will have 10 minutes. The City of Lawrence will read their position. The petitioner will have 5 minutes as a rebuttal, and remonstrators will have 5 minutes as a rebuttal, and then the board will vote.
First is old business, case 21 LSV 11 11915 Pendleton Pike, a variance of development standard of the Marion County Sign Ordinance, Table 744-906-12G, to allow for an electronic variable message billboard. Who's here for this case?
I am.
Please step up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Before I start, do you mind if I take my mask off during testimony?
Is that okay?
No, we're fine with that.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Taylor Fontan. My address is 1411 Roosevelt Avenue, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46201. And I'm here on behalf of Worth Outdoor LLC, the petitioner. First of all, we appreciate your time today to listen to our variance application. First, I'm here before you today with full reservation of Worth's rights pertaining to the variance procedure and sign ordinance in this case. When considering variances for signs, it is clear that the law requires the variance criteria to be objective, narrow, and definite. The variance criteria set forth in the Marion County Ordinance, which Lawrence abides by, are not objective, narrow, or definite. They are subjective under the law. These criteria give the board unbridled discretion in making decisions on a variance petition. And there's nothing preventing the board, as the law is written, from making a decision based on personal opinion. And that is, as I said, not consistent with the law. And specifically, 2 recent federal court cases found unconstitutional prior restraints to variance criteria nearly identical to the ones set forth in Marion County and that this board follows. Additionally, the ordinance also lacks procedural safeguards, including no definitive time frame by which this board must make a decision. And for all of those reasons, like I said, we are preserving Worth's rights pertaining to this variance procedure, the criteria, and the sign ordinance. However, moving past our issues with the variance criteria, as we interpret the subjective criteria, Worth has satisfied all of them. Within our variance application that you all have received, we have set forth those reasons in which the billboard in this location satisfies the ordinance requirements, and specifically those variance criteria. And I won't go through every single one with detail, as you all have received those already. However, especially the variance criteria of no evidence of injury to the public health or welfare is not an objective standard. And again, there are 2 recent federal court cases that have found those to be unconstitutional. Because of that criteria establishes illusory constraint on the Board of Zoning Appeals discretion. However, as we have set forth reasons why this variant, if you decide to grant this variance, there wouldn't be evidence of injury to the public health or welfare. And in fact, it would better the community. As Mr. Van Treese testified previously in the August BZA meeting, he is committed to making Lawrence a better place. And this billboard, or this conversion of a static billboard to digital, will only further Lawrence's goals to promote public health or welfare. And he did talk about, and also in the variance application, the positives of the billboard, including being able to post Amber Alerts and participate potentially in campaigns. I know that Lawrence did the I Heart Lawrence campaign, and this digital billboard would allow Lawrence to take advantage of those types of campaigns. Further, there is no evidence that the city has presented thus far that would demonstrate safety concern. And that can be said for the rest of the variance criteria as well. There has been no evidence presented that any of these variance criteria are not met. Lastly, according to the city's staff report, if this variance is granted, the city set forth 7 commitments, as you know, on the variance, and that you obviously saw in the staff report. At the previous BZA meeting, Mr. Van Treese did pass out Worth's response to these 7 commitments. And so we'd like to, or Worth would represent that these restrictions are not permissible under the law. And the fact that you can make these types of restrictions is on its face unconstitutional.
Okay, before you go much further, Taylor, that was from a meeting in August and has since been revised. And Mr. Van Treese has been given an updated staff report that does not include those.
Okay, well, thank you, I appreciate it. And just to clarify, so there are none of the 7 commitments would be applicable to.
That's not part of the staff report that you're referring to anymore. That staff report isn't applicable. That's not part of the city's recommendation. Is the new staff report that he was sent from American Structure Point.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the clarification. So with that being said, and considering the criteria today, like I said, there's no reason, or Worth does interpret all of these criteria as being met. So I do have a representative from Worth Outdoor today, John Kissel, and he can answer any technical questions regarding the billboard if the board does have further questions. But for the foregoing reasons, we respectfully request that you approve this variance. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions at this time?
I have a question maybe for the city of Lawrence or for you. How did we get here? That digital billboard is operating as I drove to this meeting.
Yes, it's been.
Was it red tagged?
It has been, was it 2012 when the billboard was put up, Dan? I think it was 2012.
It was, yes.
When it converted to a digital.
Correct.
And then.
Static was 2009, wasn't it?
I think it was 2012. The billboard went up in 9 and then it turned static in 12, if I remember correctly.
okay.
So
So it seems, and I apologize for interrupting, I think it was in 2017.
was it 17? Okay, I knew it was, maybe it was 12 it was originally put up, and then 17 it went to
I
digital.
apologize, yeah, I did, that's correct.
And Marion County came back and said that it wasn't allowed and filed a zoning violation on him. And he filed a petition at that time and then withdrew it before it was heard by the board. And now he's refiling.
So how did it keep operating?
Because it was a zoning violation and not something the city of Lawrence could enforce, it had to be enforced through Marion County.
They did.
They had him in court. I'm not sure what happened with all that. Looking at the case log, what I saw was that it went to court a number of times. There was a decision made, and that this Marion County has appealed that decision. That's what I've seen in the
And Mr.
Marion County's website.
Yes, and Mr. Crutch, because of the change on July 1, this board does have the power to grant the variance, and we would be able to fully convert the billboard after that change in the IndyGov law.
And you're asking for both sides or one side?
For both sides, sir.
Because right now it's one side.
Correct.
And when did it go to digital?
So it originally was in 2017.
But he came to us for a variance, did I understand?
Filed for a variance and
And
then
then-
withdrew it before it was
Why
heard.
did he withdraw at that time?
Because the pending litigation related to the whole 2017 issue with the permitting with Marion County.
Where was the litigation? Before what court was it pending?
It was in the Southern District.
Okay. And you guys prevailed?
So it was remanded, and since, because it is now, it's moot because of the new law that was implemented in July 1, or on July 1, no party has acted on the case in years.
So did you guys file the case?
Correct.
Was it a First Amendment challenge?
So originally, yes, it was.
Okay. Were they trying to restrict the content, or
I'm sorry, sorry.
were they trying to restrict the content of the billboard?
So the original, I apologize, I wasn't there, so I have just cursory knowledge, and John might be able to shed a little bit more light on the details of that case, but it was a challenge related to the Marion County ordinance being unconstitutional.
Are there any differences between, because I've passed the lighted billboards, on I-70. Is there any difference between those billboards and this one?
No, they're the same in terms of what they look like, and they're LED lights.
Those are all varianced
Oh,
too. They've all had a variance granted by Marion County Zoning Board.
prior to being erected.
Yes. Prior to being converted into a digital billboard or built as a digital billboard, they received a variance ahead of time.
This is being flagged as procedurally improper. Am I correct understanding that?
Well, he's coming back after the fact and asking for permission.
Retroactively?
Right.
Okay, thank
So-
you. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, so it's been up since 17 and operating since 17. But because he was in litigation with Marion County, he withdrew the petition from 17. July 1st, Lawrence became in control of zoning and rezoning and variances.
So we are now the proper forum for the variance?
Yes,
Got it. Okay, thank you.
yes.
Excuse me, I do have a question. Related to Marion County and the change of, and the recent law with IndyGov, how many current billboards similar to this are in operation in Marion County currently?
I'm not entirely sure the amount, but I honestly am not entirely sure the full amount. But there are digital billboards in Marion County that are up and operational right now.
I've seen the one on Interstate 70. I think we've probably all driven by that at some point in time, but I don't recall others, and I'm just curious as to how many there may be.
There's one by the fairgrounds on Fall Creek.
If it's okay,
That's on
John has a
state
better, has more knowledge of the exact amount, so I.
My name is John Kissel. The total number of digital billboards in Marion County, there are two back-to-back billboards at the State Fairgrounds. There are two at Lucas Oil Stadium. There are two on I-70. That's the total. There are also back-to-back billboards on 86th Street at Castleton Square Mall. So that's the total number of digital billboards in Marion County specifically. Outside of Marion County and I-65, there are a number of billboards. There's 5 digital billboards in Johnson County. In Greenwood, there are 4 digital billboards in Whitestown. I think that is about all of them at this point.
So about 6 or so.
No,
In Marion County.
Marion County, yes, there's a total of 6 in Marion County.
And again, just so I understand, this particular billboard has been one-sided digital since 17?
Actually, I believe it was 20, shortly after 2015 when there was a federal court decision, which Dan had converted at that point in time when he came in to request a conversion permit and was granted a conversion permit from Lawrence. Yeah, to convert one side. And then Marion County subsequently filed a lawsuit after that. And then in 2017, the Court of Appeals, he won at the circuit court level, and then Court of Appeals remanded it back after Marion County had appealed the decision.
See. Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody for? We'll hear from the remonstrators for or against the petition.
Good evening, Board of Zoning Appeal members. My name is Maria Rosamaroff. I serve as counselor for the Lawrence Council in District 4, of which this petition is subject of 21 LSV-11 located at 11915 Pendleton Pike. This is located in District 4. And I am here to represent some of the voices and some of the folks that have contacted me in relationship to this request. They are not in favor of it. They have stated to me that the intersection is far too busy, that intersection, especially when you are proceeding westerly along Pendleton Pike and you're looking to do a left-hand turn, given that intersection is not at 90-degree right angles. It is kind of difficult to make a left-hand turn, and obviously any distraction as you are going eastward at that intersection and watching for left-hand turners and having more distractions is not something that folks that have spoken with me about believe is a good idea, and it would be injurious to our public. I also personally believe that that's an issue. I do agree with the findings that the American Structure Point has made, Matt O'Rourke. His analysis and opinion of the variance is that it is not warranted and it does not meet the findings of fact, and there is no particular or peculiar condition to this property that warrants an EVMS at this site. I am a bit confused about the BZA request for variance and this body. The law in July 1st, 2021 had no bearing upon variances. That was about zoning. I'm a little confused about that particular prospect. Maybe Ms. Raffla can enlighten me on that particular issue. Secondly, as I understand it, the hearings that occurred with the City of Indianapolis regarding the sign code ordinance was more generalized. It was about signage in general, religious functions, and so forth. And in terms of the information regarding the number of EVMSs in Marion County, there have been some variances that have been granted. Most notably, most of those variances have to do with school, those that have EVMS that would be under time, temperature, programs that the schools are conducting, those sort of things. There have been many variances for EVMS because they would fall under this particular definition under the current zoning ordinance. So therefore, there have been a few more in regards to those particular properties, but when they're along a right-of-way, especially busy intersections, they have typically been found to be injurious to our community because they are another attention-grabbing piece of information that distracts motorists, and that's the reason that I would not support this. Also, the fact that the intersection is a bit tricky already, the fact that we don't need any more distractions, and the Amber Alerts and other alerts that we see. We have all sorts of things called cell phones that are in our hands, and Amber Alerts come up on my cell phone, they come up on the television, they have many other abilities for that type of information to be received by the community, and I don't think that allowing another EVMS, not to mention the fact that it is light pollution to our community and we don't need any additional pollution in any form, I think those are the reasons why I would not support this, and those are the comments that have come to me from folks in my district and outside of my district. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Oh, if you don't mind, I have a couple. Maria.
Maria?
Yes.
Maria, I just have a couple questions. Again, I'm just trying to get to the heart of the issue, and I want you to tell me if this is correct. The content, so you're talking Amber Alerts, the content of the billboard is not an issue. It's the billboard itself causing light pollution and distraction to motorists. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
primarily.
Okay, I just wanted to draw the distinction between the content of the billboard and the actual nuisance of the billboard itself being lighted.
Right. Well, I mean, they are two separate issues, but yet both of those would be reasons to not support this. Additionally, the zoning district that it's located in is a C3 as far as I recall. Is that correct? And I don't know that the EVMSs are permitted in C3s typically anyway. That is, a C3 district is intended for a smaller retail, not a commercial major retail like a C5. But regardless, anything adjacent to a right-of-way, in my opinion, is a distraction to motorists, and whenever I can reduce distraction for motorists and ensure greater safety to our community, I'm always going to stand up for that.
Maria, as I understand it, though, the billboard ordinance says that if you have an electric veritable sign or a LED sign, that's a variance. I mean, it is prohibited in the billboard ordinance
Right.
uniformly through Marion County. And if you get one of those signs, you have to get a variance somewhere, either here or Indianapolis,
Right. And
or rezoning.
yeah, and variances for EVMS signs, it depends upon what district you're in. It depends upon what type, where it's located, how close you are to maybe a protected district. If you're in a there's a lot of different rules and regulations related to that as well. I'm sure you're all aware of.
Yeah, my focus is just on the manner and mode of the advertisement, not the content. And And I think it's the manner and mode of the advertisement that's causing the issue for the variance. Is that correct?
Right, a billboard is permitted as it is, it's set there now. Billboards are permitted. The problem is, should they be light emitting? If this, and I failed to mention this earlier, if this is approved at minimum, and this is a condition that's given in many of the EVMS variances that are granted in Marion County and other places as well, that there be a minimum of it being static for 3 minutes or a certain amount of time so that it is not constantly like a strobe light, so that it remains static for 3 minutes. And I have seen that sort of condition with EVMSs, and I believe the one on 70 South and I-65 South, that has that condition on it. I haven't looked it up recently, but that's my memory. So that it, at least it's not like a blinking light. And again, when you're at an intersection, folks can confuse blinking lights for, you know, it gets in the way of their visual capacity at intersections with red lights, green lights, yellow lights. And as you get older, and I'm in that group, night driving and lights and all the other distractions become very difficult. So.
Okay. And lastly, I'm just looking at this photograph on this structure point thing that details the sign location. And you can see, I mean, I think we're all familiar with where it is, but it's residential in either direction of Pendleton Pike. Isn't that correct? That's your district, right?
Yes, it is. North of Pendleton Pike or north, well, it's at an angle, so it's hard to say north or west.
The northwest.
That is residential, I believe. There is some industrial right on the corner. Most of it's commercial along the intersection of Oak Landon. But as you go northerly, northeasterly up Pendleton Pike, it does turn into residential.
Page 2 of the American Structure Point is the surrounding.
Anybody else for or against this petition? We'll hear back a 5-minute rebuttal from the petitioner. Oh, excuse me. Out of order. I forgot. The city of Lawrence. Sorry about that. I skipped a month, so I.
So the city of Lawrence actually hired American Structure Point and Matt O'Rourke to review the submittal by Worth Outdoor. We had originally done our own staff report and come up with our own opinion, but because of the previous litigation with Marion County and all that, we thought it would be better to have a professional planner look at the plan and give their professional opinion. Matthew is a AICP, Planning and Economic Development Group leader, so he has experience in this type of thing. His opinion, and I'm going to read this from his report, is that the petition for variance to permit an electronic, digital, video, or light-emitting display on the existing outdoor advertising off-premise sign located at 11915 Pendleton Pike does not meet the findings of fact established for a use of variance by the City of Lawrence and Indiana State Statute 3674, 918.4. In particular, this variance request does not specifically meet the following finding of fact. The need for a variance arises from some condition peculiar to the property involved. An existing outdoor advertising off-premise sign was constructed on this property in 2009 and has been functioning as a billboard sign since its completion shortly thereafter. This review has just demonstrated that the sign meets all of the minimum zoning standards established in the Indianapolis-Marion County Consolidated Zoning Subdivision Ordinance. Therefore, there are no unique conditions peculiar to the property that inhibited the construction of the outdoor advertising off-premise sign, use, or diminish the applicant's equitable use of this property. Furthermore, there is no peculiar topographic, view obstructions, or other conditions unique to the property that would necessitate a variance from the code to offset an unusual circumstance created outside of the control of the applicant. That's number 3 on the list of reasons why a variance should be granted. Number 4 is the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. Our analysis of the existing sign demonstrates that the property meets all the requirements to locate an outdoor advertising off-premise sign, which is further substantiated due to the fact that the sign is already existing. Given that digital video and light-emitting displays are not permitted on any property under the jurisdiction of this ordinance, the strict application of the ordinance does not create any additional barriers or unique circumstances that apply to this property. Therefore, the terms outlined in the City of Indianapolis, Marion County Consolidated Zoning and Subdivision Ordinances do not constitute an unnecessary hardship to this property on which the variance is being sought, since this property is in compliance and treated the same as all other properties in Marion County that have the zoning designation of a neighborhood commercial district, C3. To summarize, the professional planner that we hired does not feel that the 5 findings of facts that are required to grant this variance have been met and that the board should deny the petition. Did you have any questions about the report? Maybe I can answer. No.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the petitioner.
Members of the board, the first thing it is to our knowledge, we did not receive the new staff report, or it was not posted.
It was sent to Dan.
And when was it sent to Dan? I apologize.
I don't know if I can give you a date right off the top here. Hold on one second.
That's okay.
Didn't we have it right after the meeting? Shortly
Yeah.
after?
I sent it to him back when it was first received.
Right.
So that would have been probably, well, hold on one second. End of September is when he would have received it. Let's see. PT Dan. I can never. Okay. No idea. It's not really pulling it up. I think it's because I'm wireless and not plugged into my main.
While she's looking that up, you mind if I ask another question?
Go ahead. It's Faith, correct?
It's Faith Alvarez, yeah. Were any steps taken before the billboard was converted to digital to get permission from either Marion County or Lawrence?
Well, at the time, we did apply for a variance. We're seeking,
And did the billboard convert to digital before that was approved?
and actually, John will probably be in a better position to answer that.
Can I answer that question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I did get a permit from Lawrence for, to convert that one face to digital.
It was approved?
Yes.
I have to, okay, so the plans that Dan submitted to obtain that permit did not indicate that it was going to be converted into a digital billboard. It was for the repair of a billboard,
It was a
And-
refacing permit.
to repair the billboard, and he put up a digital sign, and then it was turned over to Marion County.
That makes sense. I'm just trying to gauge how
Understand?
self-inflicted
Yep.
the hardship is.
Don't improvement and location permits come from Marion County?
So the billboard had the original structure of the billboard had an improvement location permit. When you reface a permit, which is what he applied for and received, that means you're putting on new wood or you're putting up a new surface. He literally applied for a reface with no details that it was going to be a digital display. And at that time, back then, those billboards were,
And that doesn't take an
Nowhere to be-
improvement location permit?
No,
it's a
but-
different level?
because it's just repairing basically the existing billboard.
Okay.
And,
There was no public hearing on the impact
Correct.
of the neighborhood. Okay.
correct.
And that's what led to the 2017 litigation, where we participated in that litigation and went through, and then on appeal, it was remanded, and that's, we're
It's got like
kind of
three
sitting
different
where we
levels.
are now at this point.
Which one I'm gonna send it to, but I'm looking.
Thank you.
But I know I sent it to him.
Could they call for a continuance? Have they had?
They've had three.
They have had three.
Yes, they've had three. There's been three. We've done one, and then they've done, let's
Two or
see.
three. They've done three total.
They've done three. And I'm sorry, I send hundreds of emails a
No,
day.
it's okay.
And you're asking me for an email from 3 months ago?
That's okay.
So-
We just, like I said, it's our position Dan did not receive it. We have not seen it. So that's why we walked in here today responding to the initial staff report 'cause, on the website, and according to what we had, that's what was
board can ask
being
for it.
recommended by the city, which explains why I was responding to
Sure.
the 7 commitments.
I just, honestly, I'm not connected. I'm wireless, and I just don't have
They
the search.
They have had 3 continuances, so they cannot ask for another continuance. We have had 1 continuance as a board, correct? So if the board would want to make a motion to do a continuance so they can look at this report that Structure Point has,
And I can make sure he gets it.
Right.
I'll send it out.
we could do that.
Have it.
Otherwise, we will have to look at voting on this tonight. So it would be up to the board if they want to make a motion and a second to continue it to the next meeting.
I don't need a continuance. No continuance from me.
Okay?
How about the rest of the board?
No? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, of course. I just wanted to make it clear in the testimony today. And if it's okay with you, I'll just finish with a brief rebuttal.
That's fine.
Okay. So today, we did hear testimony from the city's expert as well as a remonstrator today. And although we do acknowledge those points that were brought up by the city and the remonstrator, we obviously disagree with those. The billboard has been operational with a digital front for years now, and it doesn't seem to be an issue with distractions, or there hasn't been any additional accidents in that area, or anything to our knowledge or that has been presented today that has demonstrated that that digital front has been an issue. The intersection has remained the exact same, and same with the digital billboard since it was converted. And I obviously understand that it may seem like the billboard, a digital billboard could be distracting to some degree. However, the other thing to keep in mind, Worth Outdoor does have a state permit for this billboard, and the state requires certain safety specifications in order to offset some of those concerns. And that's and not limited to these things, but spacing criteria, so that you don't have all of those billboards distracting or potentially distracting drivers. There are also specifications like making sure that the face of the billboard isn't strobe lighting or flashing continuously. And they brought in their own experts to say that this is what creates a safe environment. And in particular with the state, it is an 8-second requirement. And Worth will adhere to all of those safety standards that, like I said, the state and the state's experts and the legislature have just determined to be what is safe. I think at one point the remonstrator stated that all variances are different and the locations are all different, which obviously all the billboards are different. However, the variance standard does remain the same, and that goes across all of Marion County. And as John testified earlier, there are other digital billboards in place on highways and in busy locations, and those have all been permitted. And permitted meaning the variance has been granted for those. So with that testimony and then also incorporating the testimony in August from Mr. Van Treese, Worth is asking you to grant this variance, and again, just reserving its rights because it is our ultimate position that these variance criteria are unconstitutional. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments, questions for the petitioner? The remonstrators for or against the petition has a rebuttal.
Thank you. I guess the main question here, and the reason why you serve on these boards, is that all planning, all development is local. It's about what are the standards for our community. That is precisely, I believe, the reason for the change in some of the planning law here locally as of July 1, 2021. This decision is for our community to make a decision about what's best for us. Yes, the state has standards and they will comply by those, but do we really need additional light emitting signage? Do we need additional billboard signage? We have billboards, there is a billboard there, it sends a message, but do we need to identify that message even more with more light, with more pollution, with more advertising? We get a lot of that bombarded each and every day. This is about what our local community wants to say for itself. Do we want to keep some standards? That's the kind of question you have to ask yourself. Other communities may be doing other things, but is this right for our community? Thank you.
Thank you. Board ready to vote? The board will be voting on 21 LSV-11-11915 Pendleton Pike, a variance of development standard of the Marion County Sign Ordinance, Table 744-906-12G, to allow for electronic variable message billboard.
I don't have anything. Is it in here? No.
don't need it.
No, it's unanimous, I already counted.
Okay. The board has voted unanimously to deny this petition. Thank you. Now we'll hear new business, 21 LSV-14, 4455 McCoy Street and 8015 East 45th Street. The various of development standards of Chapter 742, Article 1, Section 04.E.4.A, in the amount of glazing adjacent to the public entrance of the building, and Chapter 743, Article 3, Section 06.C.2, Table 743-306-1, the size of an accessory structure related to the primary structure. And who's here to?
Hi, my name is Chris Lake with Delve Design. I'm the architect on the project. My address is 212 West 10th Street, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46202. I'm here on behalf of the Lawrence Municipal Building Corporation. So we are the architects for the new Fire Station 38. We are building, I guess I'll address the accessory structure first. So that building is meant to house the apparatus that are in the current fire station while the new station is being built. So we'll build that building first, move the apparatus over, store them there along with some other supplies and materials for the station while the new station is being built, and then that'll be used by the department as a whole for additional storage of spare apparatus after the station is being built. And so that station, or that accessory building, is designed as a 5-bay structure, match the number of apparatus that will be housed in that space, and a depth that is deep enough to hold the longest apparatus. That happens to put us at like 26.3% versus 25% of the total square foot of the primary structure. We could have tried to notch the building at additional cost. It's a pre-engineered metal building, or wood building. As most of you know, a square or rectangle is the traditionally the way those are built based on how the structure functions. And so that's that issue. And then the second issue, this is an SU9, Special Use 9 zoning district, which defaults to a C1 in this case. And the C1 zoning district requires that at a front door of a building, you have glass for 50 feet on either side of the door, starting at least 3 foot off the ground and going to 8 feet off the ground. And in our case, with this use being a fire department, we're trying to limit the amount of glazing, in particular on the front of the building, for safety concerns for the public safety officers that work in those buildings. We're actually using laminated glass on the doors that and glazing that are there, which is about 14 foot of glazing. And then right next to the entrance, we've got apparatus bays, on one side, which obviously those have some glass in them, but we can't extend glass over in front of those. And we have the sleeping rooms on the other side. You know, the way most of those stations are configured, the day rooms and kitchen spaces that do have windows are on the back non-public side of the building. So those spaces are quieter for the individuals when they're using them. And then the day room or the sleeping rooms actually have no windows in them so that those individuals can sleep during the day if needed based on their service overnight. So the two variances we're asking for to decrease the amount of glass adjacent to the entry of the building and then to increase our accessory structure to 26.3 or 4%. Sorry, let me check so it's correct. An additional, we just say over the 25% threshold. I believe I ran the calculation as 26.4% as opposed to 25. Are there any questions I can answer?
Yeah.
Sure.
Is it to increase the amount of glass or decrease the amount of glass?
Decrease the amount of glass.
Decrease.
It requires it for 50 foot in either direction. And
The new ordinance that only went in 2 years ago or something, it is mainly, as I understood it, so the people robbing a CVS can be seen from the outside.
yeah, and in a
Isn't
typical,
that the,
yeah, and in a typical commercial building, that's very applicable. You know, we're not a commercial building, but we have to revert back to the commercial zoning requirements. The other thing that we do have there is we have a baby safety drop-off box right by that entrance. And actually, you want less eyes on that. In fact, our cameras don't even look directly at that. Don't want somebody to be spooked from feeling comfortable dropping off their baby there either, so the glass would hamper that, I think, as well.
So why isn't the whole site SU9?
The area where the primary structure is SU9. It's just SU9 doesn't have its own set of zoning classifications. It says that it reverts to a C1 as it relates to the actual classification, the requirements you have to follow. So, any other questions I can answer?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear for anyone for or against the petition.
Hello again, Maria Rosmaroff, 11754 Sinclair Drive. This is a perfect example of what variances are designed for, is to assist a situation where the ordinance as generally written cannot be followed because of special, specific circumstances. And this is the exact reason why I hope that this variance might be granted. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear from the City of Lawrence.
Demonstrators are next. Demonstrators.
Oh, are there any other remonstrators?
I just wanted to make sure, anybody else got to?
Okay.
Okay. The City of Lawrence reviewed this petition and prepared a report, which all of our board members have. Reviewing it, all three findings of fact have been met, and it is the position of the city that the variance should be approved.
Okay. Thank you,
Be
Renee.
approving the city, right?
Pretty much.
The city knows its own rules, I suppose.
Petitioner, if you have a rebuttal or anything additional to say? Maria, go ahead, sir. No?
I was just going to speak into your microphone. No, we don't have any other comments at this time.
Thank you. Maria? Thank you. Okay, board ready to vote. Any questions at this time? Okay, the board will be voting on 21 LSV-144450 McCoy Street and 8015 East 45th Street, a variance of development standard of Chapter 742, Article 1, Section 04.E.4.A, the amount of glazing adjacent to the public entrance of the building, and Chapter 743, Article 3, Section 06.C.2, Table 743-306-1, the size of accessory structure related to the primary structure.
Unanimously.
The board has unanimously granted your petition. Last bit of business tonight is 21 LSV 156632 Wynn Street. A variance of development standard of Table 744-201-1 to allow reduced front setback along Wayne Street and Railroad Street. And who's here for this petition? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you doing? I appreciate your time. My name is Tom Potschmidt. I'm at 6731 Winnock Drive, Indianapolis, Indiana. Petitioner hired me to design a new home. Actually, it began as an addition for this location, and I recommended him not to put an addition in because of the dilapidated condition of the existing home. The foundation was in really bad shape, and there were like 2 or 3 additions to the home, and each addition had different floor levels, so it would have been very difficult to mesh that in with the new addition. Before I got there, Daniel had already put in a footer for the addition, and I had to recommend him to remove that also because I didn't feel that that would work well with the new home. So I started from scratch on my design, and I put the house more so in the middle of the property to meet all the setback requirements. That was my intent. And after the foundations were put in, Daniel hired me to look at his detached garage to upgrade that. So I had to go back out to the job site. First time I'd been there since construction started. And I noticed that the foundation was put in a different spot than what I originally intended it to be. And I got a hold of Renee. Says, Renee, what do I do? She goes, you have to file a variance, which I figured I did have to do. And therefore, I had Daniel hire a surveyor just to make sure exactly where the new foundation was put in relationship to the setback lines. And I believe you had the surveys there that was done. And since it's on 3 streets, you need 25 feet from each street. And we have that along the busy street, which is Broadway Street, but we do not have that for Wynn Street or Railroad Street. Railroad Street's 8.7 feet setback, and along Wynn, it is 13.1 feet. So we feel that with the upgrade of the house that he's going to build, it's going to be a really nice house. It's going to have a brick front on it, and it's going to be mid 2,000 square foot range, like 2,500, 2,600 square feet. It's going to be a nice house, single story. And we feel that it's going to, even though it's in the setback area, that's going to uplift the home values around it, especially in comparison to what the house used to look like when it was existing. That's it.
Does the board have any questions? So what you said is basically where the house is now is where the old house was.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It's very close in the same proximity as the old house was, yes. I guess that's why the builder moved it, because he probably saw the old one there and decided it would be good to move it because it would save a big tree. And I suppose that's why he did it. Other than that, I don't know why it was moved.
No questions?
Well, that was the question I was going to ask. So this really sits in the same footprint as
Yes,
the
very
original
close
house?
to the same footprint as the original house, yes. I don't know, do you have the picture of the original house? I think I included it in my package.
Is there a picture?
So there's an aerial picture of it.
Yeah, I just haven't.
I have the,
Oh, no, here, this here former house?
Picture of the former home.
That's it.
That's it, okay. So this is the old house. So what street's this?
that is Wynn. That house actually faced Wynn Street. We're going to face Broadway with the new house, and that's Railroad Street to the right,
Okay.
yes.
That's where it's
Street or
only
an
8
alley?
feet, right?
Yeah, that's the 8.1 feet, excuse me?
Railroad Street looks more like an alley.
Right, it does. And it has been mistaken as an alley by myself and also the surveyor. But it is a street. That's very clear, it is a street. Renee straightened me out a few times on that.
Okay.
So, Wynn Street and Railroad Street are not heavily trafficked like the Broadway Street is. Broadway Street's a pretty busy street, but, so, I mean, there hasn't been any issues with cars hitting the house or anything like that in the past, over years, whatever the age of the existing house was.
And how long was this house here? The old house,
At
maybe?
least 50 years.
Okay.
I can tell by the foundation, it's cinder block, which is not concrete block, it's cinder block.
Okay.
So it had to have been pretty old, at least 50 years.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. We'll hear from anybody for or against the petition. Ma'am, did he want to speak? I know.
his name.
Hi, I'm Daniel.
If you'll speak into the microphone, though, so that it's recorded. Thank you, sorry.
Daniel Chamberlain. I live next door at 6646 Wynn Street. I am for this to uplift the neighborhood. And I understand that railroad is an alley. It's only a one-lane road. There's not two cars that are able to go down the road at the same time. And Wynn Street is a two-lane road, but Railroad itself is only one-car road, which I was told was an alley.
So he lives right next door. Okay.
The light green sided house? Does he live in the light green sided house?
Okay. Any questions for him? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
We did have an email sent this morning from a Jason Tressler, whose address is 6617 Brandon. And the email reads, "Good morning, this is Jason Tressler. We just spoke about the property that I dropped off the letter about. Sorry for the confusion. Thanks for clarifying things for me. After you explained to me in more detail and in full detail, I am not in agreement with the setback of the proposed house. I feel it would be too close to the street and pose a danger and not be aesthetically pleasing. I would vote for the owner to adhere to the city's setback rules and regulations."
Okay. Thank you, Renee. Anybody else? Renee?
So I worked with the engineer for several weeks on getting the house in the right position on this lot. And Mr. Potschmidt did contact us and let us know that he had gone out to look at the garage, and that it didn't look like the house had been put where it was originally approved, that they were putting it back where the old house sat, or pretty close to that. We have inspected the footings that are there. There are footings in the ground and some structure that started going up. It is really close to where the original house was. Railroad is a dedicated right-of-way. It is a street. The city receives tax money for it, even though it's not developed. There, as you know, living in Indian Lake, there are all kinds of streets that are not developed that have a dedicated right-of-way.
Indian Lake, we don't even have it in the right spot, but.
Yes. But, so the requirement is 25 feet off of all three streets. That does pose a hardship on this property that we feel warrants the granting of a variance. To be able to put a decent-sized house on this lot and meet all of those setbacks it was very difficult to get the house to fit, the driveway to fit, the garage that he's wanting to rebuild. As I said, Railroad is not developed as a two-lane street. It is more as an alley developed, but it is right-of-way. So we do see some practical difficulty in him being able to develop this property and feel that it would be warranted for a variance.
Thank you, Renee. Petitioner, you can add.
Yeah, I just want to mention about the rebuttal that was given by email. The other house was there for a long, long time, and there had been no accidents in the area, and I don't feel that it's a safety hazard. Traffic there is slow. I mean, it's a corner there. People are not, no matter if you're a maniac driver, you're not going to be going fast in that area. You're just not. It's going to be slow, and it's not going to be a safety hazard.
Thank you.
I have a question. You have a dilapidated barn behind the new foundation?
Yeah, that's the detached garage that he wants to upgrade. That's what I was out there for, and I was
I
gonna
think
go,
it does need to be upgraded.
yes, it does, yeah. We're gonna add block to it, raise the roof, and redo the roof, and make it look nice. Yeah,
With
that's what I was
permits, of
out there
course.
for, when I saw that the foundation was in the wrong place, and I put that on hold until we find out what's going on with it, so.
Yeah, but you can, driving by the site, you can get an idea of where the house is, and it doesn't seem incredibly close to the right of way. I mean,
No, it doesn't.
especially railroad is not a thoroughfare by any
No, it
stretch of the imagination.
appears to be an alley, but it is definitely not, like Renee said, it's a street, but
But we have
it
one
is
neighbor.
more of a one-way street, like he said, than it is a
Yeah,
two-way.
one neighbor's very clear that it's an alley. I've been on roads like that, so, I mean, just that sentiment alone, I think, speaks to the nature of how adverse this setback would be.
That's what we have variances.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Ma'am, would he like to say anything? Okay. Board ready to vote then?
Yes.
Okay, board, we vote on 21 LSV 15, 6632 Wynn Street. Varies of development standard of table 744-201-1 to allow reduced front setback along Wynn Street and Railroad Street. The board has unanimously granted your petition. One more order of business tonight, board. We need the approval of the 2022 meeting schedule. It is in front of you right now. Renee, you have anything to add?
No, third Tuesday every month at 6 o'clock, just like we're doing now.
Okay.
I don't think there's any exceptions for holidays or anything with our schedule.
I need a motion and a second.
So
So
moved.
move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Dates stand as, meeting dates
Who made the
stand.
second? Thanks.
The Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is adjourned at this time.